Hey fellas, so after a little under a year here, I finally saw Scoob, and even though it's not a complete disaster I was worried it would be, he, it's also not great either. I mean, as a Cinematic Universe Foundation, it's not quite as similar as the MCU, DCEU, even the Toho Monsters for that matter. It's not Dark Universe disappointments. I mean, there are parts I liked, I'll admit, and even though it made me laugh how many times I thought it's it's all right. I mean, some people I associate with have liked it, other people hated it. I just think it's okay. Hey, I mean, I might do a full review who next week for the 1 year or later. I might not. But even this video is going to be spoilers if you care about sort of thing. So let's get started. So, despite the marketing and the opening scene from the speech doing everything in their power to convince me otherwise, it's actually not the worst one I've ever seen. Far from it. But I mean, I submit you could just cut that opening as well as the whole bit with the tween juggalos or whoever, and just start the movie right where they he meets with young Fred, Daphne, and Velma at Halloween, and then break up this electronics warehouse theft. I suppose. I mean, there are some Easter eggs that do kind of amuse me. I mean, I actually laughed more times than I expected to. I mean, who who like, and the ones that did were actually the little bits. I mean, the ones that kind of make up life. I've seen. I mean, is this the worst film that came out in 2020? Not by a long shot. I mean, I have personally seen a view much worse, and definitely seen worse ways to spend 93 minutes. I mean, and just as well that this film ended up getting put on DTV. He given how director Tony Cervone, I forgive if I cannot pronounce that correctly, has directed had other films in the series for that market, so at least he's not far out of his comfort zone with the characters or the idea. I mean, in a sense, and I mean, I at least found. I mean, this and Trolls World Tour had similar issues. But I find this one to be a bit better on the grounds that it's not completely incoherent and visually. He has some problem. The story was just how to keep everything moving, because I think the audience might hey, get bored, but there are some. I usually like things to be fast paced, but there are times when that does have its detriments. I mean, it's like they downed an entire case of Mountain Dew Code Red and an entire 5 pound bag of kisses, man. As I mean, the animation, it's not mind blowing. Again, not quite Disney or Pixar and Drinks level, but it's not a too far stretch given the material it's based on and and personally, and the Simon Cowell cameo doesn't bother me too much. I just did some other people. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be any more date in a few decades than it would those times I hang out with Mama Cass or Sonny Bono. Too soon? I mean, the gags that amuse me again were some of the simplest ones, also ones that caught me off guard. I mean, for example, they swapped the usual persona of Dynamite Hut and the Blue Falcon. That's funny. They found a way to work in Captain Caveman. That's funny. He's also with Tracy Morgan. That's also funny. But now that I brought this up the changing all the cast, save for Man of a Thousand Voices, Frank Welker as Scooby himself. Oh, I can understand why people were not happy about that. And as an anime fan, I am well familiar with mass recasts not going over well, and how especially with the existing casts. As I kind of get them wanting to put some of the bigger names on the marquee to attract people who aren't as big fans of the franchise. As granted, it's not my favorite IP, but I do who understands appeal at least. Of course, no one expected that, they'd have to close theaters much of the year the way they did. And, and, but all things considered, I mean, even they maybe don't have a lot to work with, but most of the new cast is fine. I mean, Will Forte, who's been funny on Saturday Night Live and other movies as Shaggy, is fine. Zac Efron, who's been in other stuff I've enjoyed as Fred, is fine. Amanda Seyfried, an actress I rather like as Daphne, is fine. Fine. I mean, and also we have Isa Gonzalez as Velma, and they also changed her background to match. That's awesome, but she's also fine. Fine, so. Oh. And I'm thinking. I also definitely. I kind of like Ken Jeong and Han as Dynamite this time around. And I guess how Mark Wahlberg as the Blue Falcon, who has apparently inherited the title from his dad, is having fun. And again, when they just caught me off guard was when they were at Funland, and which has been transported to Romania for some reason, and and when they're in the Ferris wheel, scene to drop some f bombs, to which he responds, "Let's keep it PG." Okay, that was actually kind of funny. Yeah. And I will say that of the cast members, my favorite had to be, interestingly enough, Jason Isaacs as Dick Dastardly. I mean, I know he's good at playing villains, having been Captain Hook, Lucius Malfoy, and Zhao from Avatar, name a few. And that's something I was not expecting them to do. But basically, to turn Dastardly into Thanos. I mean, not just in terms of his end game, but also how he wants to see his dog Muttley again. Since he is they had their own show as well as being, but I'm one of the people more familiar with them from the turn and wacky races, which I do allude to. Who like they had like the show for the medals and the pilot helmets, but even more so, there are some surprisingly dark bits, like how not only did they finally catch a pigeon there after in the main show, but they stuffed it. That's really dark, guys. Dark. So, oh, and there's a lot going on as I expected. I mean, it wasn't quite as messy as I expected, and again, it's hard to get too mad about all this stuff when they've crossed over with everyone from celebrity chefs to who wrestlers and Kiss. The superhero stuff also didn't bother me, given how they crossed over Batman and Robin a bunch, on like some of those weird ones I had in the '70s. It's like Kasem actually voiced Robin and Shaggy in that one, so I always like to imagine them in the recording studio talking to himself for a long time, switching between their voices. It says, and like again, I know I keep mentioning how much I skipped over the opening scene, and the only crime I personally feel is like wasting Kevin Heffron there. So basically, his bit part was as like cop, but kind of has like his attitude towards his job. If you want to see that premise done in a far funny way, my advice is to go watch Super Troopers movies again. And so, yeah. So the pieces were definitely there here, but they didn't seem to understand how to put them together. I mean, like the film. I'm not entirely sure even follows like the three act structure in conventional sense, given how you have basically had three beginnings. Even like you have the prologue at Venice Beach, then you have like he he meeting Mr. Ink on Halloween night, and then you have the bit at the malt shop slash diner. I mean, like the disinfectant thing with Simon does kind of amusing given the circumstances and background of this movie coming out. I mean, it lacks the mystery of Mystery Inc. in many ways. Is one issue I have. Heck, I would even submit that the Detective Pikachu movie that came out the year prior was closer to Scooby Doo movie than that. In fact, like these robots that attack them in the bowling alley at the beginning are basically like the Apom attack scene in this film. Like some even have purple eyes, even and Dazzly turns one of them into a dustbuster, or because why not? I mean, so even though I may not have the same affection for Hanna-Barbera as some other people might, right? But I at least have an understanding, Hanny, of their appeal as someone who was mainly exposed to them for reruns of Cartoon Network and Boomerang, and now likely, given how they're bringing back the studio and all the IP associated with it, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna make any more movies in this particular continuity, but it's clearly not gonna be unless we're gonna be seeing these characters like how Scooby Doo still remains their longest running, most successful franchise by a long shot. Look at how they still make new versions every other year, and something not in the first time they've attempted to make the supernatural threats real. In this case, the Cerberus skulls are basically like this movie's Infinity Stones, Mother Boxes, or like a Sith holocron wayfinds from the Rise of Skywalker. At least, he's so. Oh, yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, I think you can, may that's another flaw. I think that may have been blown their stack a bit too early. Really, I think you need to make sure that we know who these characters are in this continuity before you who kind of set them about there. They filmmakers claim that would have been better in terms of the Sonic movie, but it's not. It's really not. Even if you weren't familiar with the games, that movie did a good job of establishing who that original character was, what he was doing there, and also how even made it accessible. Even the those who hadn't played the games much, because it was core or like a buddy road trip movie with a sci-fi flavor to it. And it's just and again, and I keep circling back around, because the movie kind of does like like Dee Dee Sykes, who flies a Falcon Fury, one third of the Teen Angels, being voiced by Kiersey Clemens. So I guess when she's not having a meet cute with the Flash, he's basically he acting as a Blue Falcon's pilot. And some people compared it to a design to a Fortnite avatar, and I can see where they're coming from there. I mean, it at least looks alright. I I just watching this on my computer. I also find some of the gags amusing for different reasons, like how like the Netflix one, like about not just because like how apparently Dash didn't know how profiles worked, hurt by stealing his always password, but also that's streaming on one of their major competitors, HBO Max now. Yeah, it's I want to make clear that I don't hate this film, but I'm gonna need a moment to determine whether or not I want to formally review it. Right, so oh, I guess it'll depend on how I feel by next week. And if I decide to review it, you'll probably, hey, we'll see it around this time next week. But if I don't, I guess it means that my energy will go into the some of my other videos, including a potential spoiler review of the Mortal Kombat reboots. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with this particular cinematic universe. But it's definitely going to need some work because I don't think at this time Hanna-Barbera has the same particular pop culture pedestal that someone like Marvel, DC, or even Godzilla for that matter have, man. So, oh, maybe they'll do better with the Space Jam sequel coming out this summer, and I'm definitely going to be looking at that. Or end up seeing it theatrically on HBO Max, or both. Oh, I will definitely be doing that. I'll also be doing the news back in action before I watch it. So, anyway, that's all I have to say for now. Now, and Jinkies. He's another episode of Bad Batch just came out. I guess you'll see my next video on that tomorrow. See ya. Mm.